Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
I'd like to call our regular second meeting of the month to order for the Nash County Board of Commissioners, May the 12th at 1:30. It's customary for our board to begin each of our meetings with a prayer by a county commissioner. During this time, you're welcome to stand and join in that prayer. You're welcome to use this time to have your own prayer, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whichever you prefer. We will follow the prayer by a pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Outlaw, and today we have Miss Mary Wells is doing the invocation. Miss Wells.
Thank you. Let's pray. How, Father, we come together today to tend to the business of Nash County. Also to congratulate these people, Lord, that were willing to take their time to go through the academy. God, just be with each one of them. We pray, Lord, that they learn something about our county that will help them in the future, and that they also know that our county is here to help them. So just be with each one of them. And God, just be with us as we go through this meeting. May we remember that we're all your children. We all work together. And God, just bless this meeting. Bless each one that's here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the graduates of the Citizens Academy are very fortunate. Patsy somehow was able to put you forth on an agenda that's about 3 pages long. So, Patsy, tell us what we're doing today and how you want to handle it.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. The 2019 Nash County Citizens Academy is completed. Nash County Government Works met on Tuesdays from 5:30 to 8:30 or so from January 22nd until April 30th, 2019. And the 10 sessions included presenters who were department heads and supervisors from almost all areas of Nash County government, plus leaders from some outside agencies for which the county has a significant funding role, such as Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools, Nash Community College, Carolinas Gateway Partnership, and Nash County Travel and Tourism. In the past 11 years, we have graduated from Citizens Academy 244 local leaders, many of whom have since served on various committees, commissions, and appointed boards in Nash County. At this point, each participant has a notebook, which is about 3 inches, filled with information about a wide variety of county services, plus contact information for departments that implement those county programs so that they may continue to be engaged in the areas of interest to them. And if the chairman would join me at this time. I surely wish to thank those who have worked so hard and often behind the scenes to ensure the success of the series of classes. Would Hattie Cooper join us at the front? Hattie Cooper really requires no introduction. She has volunteered with us since completing Citizens Academy herself in 2014. She's encouraged several other people to attend the Citizens Academy, including a couple of her sisters. And she is active in the community as with the revitalization of the Rosenwald School in Castelia. She works at the election polls, assisting voters with ballots and giving them I voted stickers and the children future voter stickers. She's a master gardener, and she does other things. She serves as a community champion for us for high-speed internet, and we really cannot thank Ms. Hetty enough for all she does for the people of Nash County, including Citizens Academy.
Appreciate it.
Now Jacob Berry. Jacob Ferry wears a number of hats around here. He's worked tirelessly on the details related to preparing for and following up from each of the 10 sessions and graduation. He arranged for our meals. He ensured we had water, coffee, and most importantly, chocolate. He put out signs so we'd know where to go. He put together our packets. He coordinated with our presenters and set up for the sessions. Often he greeted participants at the door to let them in the building, and he provided survey results to the presenters. His hard work and dedication have made the 2019 Citizens Academy run smoothly, and I can never thank Jacob enough for his service to the people of Nash County and to the Citizens Academy in the 9 short months he's been here. And at this time, it's my privilege to propose that the Board of Commissioners award graduation certificates to the 2019 Citizens Academy participants, 16 of whom are able to be with us here today. Okay, I'll follow. Mabel Christine Avent Felder. She works in advertising at the Nashville Graphic, and she has had a 100% attendance rate at the Citizens Academy. Brenda P. Baker is retired from Nash General Hospital and is a lifelong resident of Nash County, also had a 100% attendance rate.
You want that or you want some that? Let's get one the other way, too. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Amy Brantley is the owner-president of Central East Ag Supply, and she also had a 100% attendance rate. Sharon Eichelberger is a retiree and has been a Nash County resident for 10 years. And she has jury duty today, so we're thankful she was able to be with us. Priscilla Ham is a teacher in the Nash Rocky Mount Public School System and has been a Nash County resident for a couple of years now. Karen Herberly is a retiree and has been a resident of the county for 14 and a half years, and she had a 100% attendance rate. Terry Herberly is a retiree, is married to Karen Herberly, and has also been a resident of Nash County for 14 and a half years. He also had a 100% attendance rate. Thank you. Joshua M. Huerte is this year's youngest participant at age 22, and he's been a resident of the county for over 15 years. Joshua is usually our first participant to arrive for each session. Sharon W. Jones has been a member of the Sandy Cross United Methodist Church for 26 years, and she's been a Nash County resident for 32 years, and she had a 100% attendance rate. Glenn Mitchell is employed by Pfizer and is married to Marilyn Mitchell. He has been a resident of Nash County for 15 years and has a 100% attendance rate. Marilyn Mitchell is a behavior worker at La Crisp Behavior Health and has been a Nash County resident for 15 years. She has a 100% attendance rate. Marion Stoga is retired. She has been a resident of the county for 10 years. She's a big promoter of pickleball, and during Citizens Academy, she got a new knee.
Be honest about it.
Paula Tarnaski is an employee of the Nash County Department of Social Services, and she is one of our most lively members of the class. Priscilla Whitaker is employed at Bienvenue Country Club. She's been a member of both the Tri-County Board of Governors and the Mayor's Commission of Rocky Mount for 4 years, and she's been a resident of Nash County for 27 years. I've known her longer than anybody else in the academy because we used to work together. Judy C. Winstead is a realtor broker with Fathom Realty, and she has been a member of the Rocky Mount Area Association of Realtors for 12 years. She had a 100% attendance rate. Peggy Winstead is a retired teacher, and she's been a member and secretary of Peacemakers for 2 years and the Coopers Ruritan Club for 10 years, and has been a Nash County resident for over 50 years.
This lady can make time to attend the Citizen Academy, anybody in Nash County, because I know she's a very busy lady. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you all very much. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. Oh, I'm not up first. My bad. Thank y'all.
I'll wait for you to sit down. I'm looking at both agendas to see if they had changed it on me, but they have not. Commissioner Outlaw, we've got it in a little different order this time, but items 5 and 6 are the ones that you set up. I'll turn it over to you this time.
Thank you, Chairman Davis. Today, we're going to have a presentation on the overall park system, and we're also going to have a presentation on the Miracle Park at Coopers. I believe we're going to start with the Miracle Park at Coopers, and have we got someone here from Stocks?
We do.
Okay, yes, we do. I see Andrew. We have Andrew Stocks from Stocks Engineering. We have Harold Winstead, who had the vision for the park from the Coopers community, and Patsy McGee, who of course is a key player in Nash County government. Following that, Thomas Gillespie, who is the director of the Nash County Parks and Rec System, will give us an overall view of the parks and rec system. So with that, Andrew, welcome. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Outlaw, and members of the board. Good afternoon. On August 9th, 2018, bids were opened for what is known as the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. After some deliberation and adjustments in the scope of the project, the project was awarded to PLT Construction Company. On October 31st, 2018, the ground was broken and the contract started. Since then, the construction of the park has progressed very well. Several members of the park committee and members of the board have been a part of some of our monthly meetings to ensure the continuation of the progress and to address any concerns by the community or the construction or members of the board. The original completion date was the end of this month, May 31st. PLT is staying as close to that as they can. With our wettest year in history, they have some rain days that they have been awarded that are a part of the contract. So right now they're shooting for completion by the middle of June. There have been 3 change orders during the course of the project that were approved and signed by the county. The first was used to eliminate a large number of items from the contract to reduce the cost. The second was for some stone bedding used during the installation of the storm drain. And the third was for the undercut at the driveway to ensure the soil stability at the park entrance. With these change orders and compared to some of the items that have come in under, at this point we can say the project remains on budget. When the credit given for rain days, we can say the project remains on schedule. If you'll turn your attention to the screens, I think Stacy has a quick video of the progression of the park from October 31st to last week, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. Anyone have any questions?
Andrew, did you put that together using a drone?
We did, yes, sir.
Did you do the rotation, or is that the natural rotation of the earth?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both, okay. It's amazing what you can do with those things and the presentations you can put together. It'll be interesting to see it finish up when the grass starts growing.
I think it'll look really good.
Yep. Any questions from commissioners?
If you haven't been to the park, I encourage you to do so. It's, even today,
Yep.
it's advanced beyond what we just saw in that video, so it's coming along very nicely. Appreciate what you guys have done.
Excuse me, I want to agree with Commissioner Outlaw. My husband and I went out there, Friday was a week ago, and I was just shocked at how much had been done and how good it looks. Thank y'all for your work.
I'm glad we could help.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now we're going to have I don't know if Harold or Patsy's going first, but Patsy's going to talk about grant funding, and I think Harold's going to talk about his 501c3, which I had an opportunity to serve on before I came on this board. So I know that the vision for this park has been in Harold's head for over a decade. And Harold, we thank you for sticking to it and the work you've done to make this a reality. Patsy's going to go first.
Well, you've got one at your seats, right? Well, you should have a copy of something that looks like this at your seats that you might can see better than this on the screen. It says Nash County Miracle Park at Cooper's Grants and Budget Update. So the chart shows the total budget, which is $2,460,000 for the Nash County Miracle Park at Cooper's, and that includes the revenue from several grants. Trillium, $750,000. Partif, which is Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, $500,000. The North Carolina General Assembly, $125,000. And the Major League Baseball, Baseball Tomorrow Fund, $60,000. So the total grants on the project are $1,435,000. We have requested and received reimbursement for all the grant funds that we can at this time, and we will submit another reimbursement request this week. So we will have about $900,000 that we have already drawn down as reimbursement for expenses that we have had. And as additional elements of the park are completed, we will continue to draw down all of the remaining grant funds. The additional budget for this project includes $775,000 in Nash County funds and $250,000 from Cooper's Ruritan Club. And it's certainly a great example of partnerships with funders and community organizations. And we certainly want to thank the many people and organizations who have been involved in making this dream a reality for the citizens of Nash County. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Harold? We'd just like to make one minor note. The $250,000 that Harold's going to speak about is from a 501c3 that he established, and that would include input from a lot of different people and organizations.
Thank you very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I'd had a drone like that, Robbie, when I was measuring land in the 50s, I wouldn't have gotten so dusty. I would have made a lot more money, but we didn't have them then.
You'd had a drone like that in 1950, you could have made a whole lot of money, Mr. Winston.
I would have got in a lot of trouble, probably. First, I could not come here today and address this board without thanking you again for building this park in the Coopers, Westmount, and Macedonia area. The last time I addressed this board was September the 10th, 2007, almost 12 years. 12 years ago, I came here with a dream and a hope that something good could happen, and it did. I want to thank you again today as workmen are putting the fencing around the ball fields. I'm here today to report to you that the Coopers Community Development Corporation are hard at work finalizing our fundraising efforts for Phase 1 of the park. To date, we have sold naming rights for 4 ball fields at $10,000 each, 2 soccer fields at $10,000 each, 2 basketball courts, $10,000, an events lawn for $10,000, and we have sold advertising on 4 scoreboards with 2 signs each, one above, one below. I think you have a illustration of that, for a total of $80,000. And that $80,000 would reoccur in 10 years, Z. It's a 10-year contract for those scoreboards. Also, we have sold the large picnic shelter that we've been permitted to build. I think we have 1 picnic shelter, a smaller one that is available for $3,000, and I think we're in negotiations on that. But we have sold the large picnic shelter for $5,000. And we sold 2 walking trails at $5,000 each, plus several picnic tables and benches and some other items that are available. So in the next few weeks, or certainly months anyway, since the park will not be open until later on, we plan to sell 40 fencing signs at $500 each, and I think that should be a piece of cake, considering what we've already done, quite honestly. Put a little plug in. If anybody would like to have a sign, give me a call to one of my board members. The only item we really have remaining for sponsorship, and it's a big one, is the concession stand. And we ran into some difficulty on that, but we're gonna do the concession stand, about $40,000 or $50,000. These numbers that I've given you here represent about $180,000 that have been committed or pledged, and we have 150 in hand. Today, I'd like to propose to this board to allow us to transfer $100,000 of these funds to Nash County to encourage you to amend Phase 1 plan to include lighting or power and the installation and erection of these 4 scoreboards. I've given you some figures about the cost of scoreboards. A scoreboard is approximately $2,900 from that particular source. Contractors can probably get a better deal than that. But that's one I like, and that's one I think would represent us well. $2,900 is the price that's on that particular scoreboard. I'm very proud today of our fundraising efforts. I think it's been very successful. We've had a lot of hardworking people, such as Peggy back here, Jane Tyson, and others on my board. We have a few other opportunities out there for some other funds, and we'll be seeking those out later on in the year. But we're on schedule to meet this objective that has been mentioned here before, and we're very proud that this is going to be quite an investment in this Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. Again, I respectfully ask that you amend your Phase 1 plan, if you possibly can, to erect and provide the power to the 4 scoreboards, which really helped us raise the $80,000, those 4 scoreboards. They just don't work without power, and we all know that, and I thank you very much. Any questions?
Any questions from board members?
Thank you for your efforts, Harold.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm here today to provide you with an update on the Parks and Recreation Department. In this update, I will discuss our department's programs, participation numbers, staffing, and future plans for our department. If you look in your packet, there's a document that's labeled Parks and Recreation Programs. On this document, I have listed the programs that we provide each season. Our department has offered a variety of youth and adult athletic programs, summer camps, and special events. Over the past year, we have planned over 74 athletic leagues, 19 summer camps, and 4 special events. In the past 18 months, our staff has implemented several adult programs such as adult soccer and adult flag football. We will be offering adult volleyball this summer, as well as adult kickball in the future. While implementing new adult programs, we have continued to improve the quality of our existing programs as well. Youth soccer has remained our highest participated sport for the past couple of years, and participation continues to increase annually in youth volleyball and youth futsal. This year, our annual Daddy-Daughter Dance event was the biggest dance yet. The location this year was at the Brown Auditorium at Nash Community College. The change of the location allowed for more participation. We had a grand total of 533 dads and daughters attend this event this year. We also plan to offer 2 new special events this year. In October, we will be offering a Halloween event at Nash Community College, and we'll be partnering with the Nash County Sheriff's Department to host a bicycle rodeo at different parks within the county later this year. A bicycle rodeo is a clinic to teach children the skills and necessary precautions needed to ride a bike. Next, if you look at the document in your packet titled Program Numbers, you can see that our annual participation has increased by at least 300 participants each year. Last year, we had 3,929 participants combined in all of our programs. We are anticipating at least 4,200 participants in our programs this year, and this is based on the calendar year. I'm asked all the time, how do we manage to keep offering high-quality programs? And my first response is always good quality staff. I feel as if our department has the best staff, both full-time and part-time. Our department has 5 full-time employees and over 40 part-time employees that are passionate about Nash County. Last week, Travis Thompson accepted the job as a recreation program supervisor for our department. Travis is a graduate of North Carolina Wesleyan College and has worked part-time within our department for 8 months. He has also worked with the City of Rocky Mount Parks and Recreation Department. Travis will be a huge asset to our department and will begin work on June 3rd. Also in your packet, I provided you with our department organizational chart. This chart is represents full-time and part-time staff that are identified on the chart. So what are the plans for Nash County Parks and Recreation? Last year, we organized a countywide Parks and Recreation Committee. This committee consists of 7 members from different parts of Nash County. The functions of this committee is to assist the Recreation Director with reviewing our current programs and facilities, as well as provide and gather input and ideas for long-range plans. Our department will also be implementing more non-athletic programs and special events, such as the Halloween event and the bicycle rodeo, as mentioned earlier. I was always told recreation is more to recreation than athletics. In addition, another long-range departmental goal will be developing programming for the Miracle Park at Coopers. We developed an agreement earlier this year with the Tri-Community Baseball League. Tri-Community is a private baseball league that plays in the Coopers and Sharpsburg area. The league has agreed to come under the county's umbrella for their baseball and softball programs beginning July 1st, 2019. All games and practices for the league will take place at Davis Field in Sharpsburg and Volunteer Field at Coopers until we are ready to begin play at the Miracle Park. Both parties were excited when this agreement was complete in March. In conclusion, we will continue to work with the municipalities in Red Oak, Dorchester, Spring Hope, Bailey, Middlesex, and Castalia to assure our facilities and programs are meeting the needs of Nash County citizens. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Yes, one, I was just thinking about swimming, that, have you thought about making any contact with Parks and Recreation in the city of Rocky Mount? That's an area that maybe could do some things together as it relates to swimming.
Well, we partner with the city in basketball and softball and baseball. We have not came into any conversations about swimming, but that's something that we can look into for the future.
Would we expect the Miracle Park to actually open up in the spring of,
The spring of 2020,
2020.
that's the expectation
Right.
for the grand opening for the Miracle
I
Park.
think at that time you'll stop playing on Volunteer Road, and
And playing at the Miracle Park at Coopers for baseball.
plus Tri-Community would also continue to play at Davis Field.
Correct.
Right.
That's it?
Thomas, when you look at your participation numbers, it's really amazing, the consistency of the climb that you got. Of course, I can see to your, leadership that a lot of it comes with new programs. When I start with the left in 13, I have a tremendous amount of NAs.
Uh,
You decrease the NAs each year moving forward, therefore your numbers go up. But to have an average, as you said, 300 additions each year, for a 6-year period, and now we're in the 7th year, really is, exactly what us members on the board have been here for a long time had in mind when we started this thing many years ago. And you are expecting to be over 4,000 at the end of 19,
correct.
if I understood you correct.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, on behalf of myself as well as the board, that somebody's doing a fantastic job, and I can't help but think it's a big part of what you're doing each day, and I know you, like you say, you've got a great staff, and I know you have, growth in your staff, and some people, find and move up in this field quite a bit, it looks like, and apparently our people are able to do that, so again, it's your leadership, I think, that leads them in a position where they can actually get jobs at a higher level in other places. You always hate to lose them, I know,
Yes, sir.
but you seem to replace them every time with very quality people. I'm just really amazed at what this thing has done since we started, and to think in just a short 7 or 8, 9 years ago, let's see, we actually started this program probably in about 2005, or do you know that exactly?
I think we began programming in 2006.
2006, okay. In the short time we've had, it sure has come a long way, and I know it's what the ones of us that were on the board back then certainly had in mind. I want to thank you very much for what you're doing there. To ride by these parks late in the afternoons, particularly during the school year and on Saturdays, just like the Red Oak Park, Friday afternoon, I have to go by there. And it's really amazing at the number of people you see out there, adults, children, and those kids are, of course, involved in structural activity, which means it should keep them out of some of our other departments moving forward in life, and I won't quote those departments, but this is where it starts at, and it's just a wonderful thing, I think, and I appreciate everything the staff's done to develop this program.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
And I make sure I tell the staff that we greatly appreciate all the support from the board.
Well, if you want to bring them in here sometime, Commissioner, to be glad to tell them again.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
y'all.
Mr. Outlaw, that complete
Yes, sir.
those 2 items? Okay. All right, we're now on item number 7, which is a policy amendment as it relates to some of our assistance programs. And Ms. McGee, turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Nash County was awarded an initial set-aside of $175,000 by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency under the 2017 cycle of the Essential Single-Family Rehabilitation Loan Program to rehabilitate 5 houses. The Wooten Company assists us by administering the program. This program targets houses with essential moderate repair needs. Eligible households must be located in Nash County, including within its municipalities, and have household incomes less than 80% of the median income. So for a family of 4, that's $42,400. Eligible households must be occupied by an individual with a special need, either elderly, disabled, a military veteran, or have a child with elevated blood lead levels. And this program is funded through the Housing Trust Fund and home funds. No county funds are needed to execute this program. And after demonstrating successful use of our initial set-aside, we accessed additional funds from the loan pool to rehabilitate 9 more homes. So we currently have a total budget of $490,000 to rehabilitate a total of 14 houses at $35,000 per house. On January 1st of this year, the Housing Finance Agency eliminated the funding limit, so NC counties can now compete for funding to rehabilitate houses until all the funding is utilized. And as a result, we have submitted 3 more houses for consideration. All of the units in this program must be under contract by the end of this year, and home rehabs must be complete by June 30th of 2020. We have 4 additional applications that we know of that appear to qualify for this program, except for the policy, the housing assistance policy that we have that requires current payment on property taxes. And since the Housing Finance Agency currently has considerable funding in its coffers, and it's a competitive program, and since Nash County would benefit from the rehab of existing housings for its low-income homeowners, particularly for elderly, disabled, and military veterans, we request that the commissioners consider amending our assistance policy, which was adopted in July of 2017, to allow for housing rehabilitation assistance under this program if the property owner has a current payment plan with the tax office. And you have, or we sent a copy of the assistance policy, and the changes in red would be the amended changes to accomplish this, what we're requesting. If you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Mr. McGee, I think in layman's terms, you explained this to me the other afternoon in a little bit more detail. Now, you currently have to be current on your taxes to be able to qualify for this.
That is true.
Okay, and what you're asking is that because of so many funds been available, and of course, we all realize this is probably short-term, and it may be tied to hurricane money, I'm not sure about that. But you're saying a lot of times we put people on a payment plan, and as long as they make the payments in a timely fashion, we don't foreclose on the property. You're saying if they're under one of those payment plans and are following it, that they could be eligible for this if the county makes this change, so the grantee allows it apparently.
Yes, they allow it. In fact, that's the way most counties operate the program.
Most of them are doing that.
And up until 2017, that's the way we operated our programs. But in 2017, we changed, well, when we got new programs, we worded the assistance policy so that taxes needed to be current in order for homeowners to qualify. So a payment plan was no longer an option under the ESFR 17 and the URP 17. The URP 17 is closed out, so that's not something that we can go back and change. And the disaster recovery programs that we have for ESFR and for CDBG-DR do not allow for that requirement. So what this would essentially do is make applicants for all of our current programs be able to apply if they were on a payment schedule with the tax department and they were current on their payments.
You said we made that change the other way in 2017.
Correct.
Is that a change I asked for, or do you remember? It sounds like something I may would ask for.
I'm not sure if you asked for it. I remember the county manager, we discussed it, and I believe several of the board members
It
might have
probably
asked
the county
for it.
manager, the way he likes to collect taxes. Thinking about that.
But we have been fairly successful with the ones who are on a payment plan making their payments.
Okay. Any questions from board members?
Is there any minimum timing to be on that payment plan, or is it just, you just started and so you would then qualify, or?
I think Doris Sumner would be a better one to ask that, but as I recall, I believe the payment plan she sets up, it depends on the person's circumstances, but typically maybe 4 years if they, it just depends on how much they currently owe and what kind of income they're able to bring in, if their church is able to help them, if their family is able to help them, if they have significant medical bills or whatever their
I
situation.
just wondered if you had to have any minimum amount of history with that particular payment plan, or just from the start?
Yes, so if they set up a payment plan, we look to make sure they're current on their payment plan. And if they don't have a payment plan and they owe back taxes, we send them to the tax department to try to set up a payment plan. Not just because Nash County requires that taxes be paid, but the Housing Finance Agency also independently looks at that information. And Housing Finance will require that either their taxes be current, or they have a payment plan and that they be current in paying on that plan.
Mr. Bellfield?
This program here is different from the grants that we've been receiving to rehab houses for low income. This is one where you set up the person on a payment plan, or they can pay in one lump sum if they qualify based on the qualifications that you got listed here.
This program is called our Essential Single Family Rehab Program. It's one that Nash County qualifies to receive every 3 years. It used to be called just Single Family Rehab, but now it's Essential Single Family Rehab. And so it is the same program, one of the same programs that we've had repeatedly in Nash County. And we used to have the assistance policy that just required that either taxes be current or they were set up on a payment plan. In 2017, we went to a system that required that taxes be current. So what we would be doing would just be going back to the old system that we used to have.
So, I'm trying to understand it. So it's basically the same program that we have, because I'm unaware that in the rehabbing that we've done to low-income houses based on aging, that they had to pay any of the grant back, and it was a maximum that you could receive.
Yeah, we're just really talking about the issue of the taxes that they owe on their property, because these are homeowners who are accessing, and it works like a grant as long as they remain in the home, because it's a forgivable loan. But we're really just talking about the part of it that deals with their property taxes today. That's what we're really talking about, is whether they're current on their taxes or whether we're going to allow them to have a payment plan and maybe catch up on their taxes at some point and be able to be qualified for the program if they do have a payment plan. Even though all their taxes, maybe for 2016 and 2017, aren't paid up to date, but if they're set up on a payment plan and they have a schedule where they're paying those to the tax department, they fell behind at some point for some reason, but they're working towards getting that current, then they could qualify for our programs. That's what we're asking.
Other questions? Pleasure of the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? You not gonna vote opposed, Mr. Myers? No. Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That brings us to item number 8, which is a memorial of the courtyard memorial policy that we had presented to us some time ago. I think we apparently tabled it for a little while, and something that's come up recently where we want to consider, and I'm thinking that's why it's back on the agenda this afternoon. I hope each one of you had a chance to look at that since you got the agenda and see if there's any questions or thoughts about it, so maybe we can move forward with it. Go ahead.
Well, if you'll recall, in January of this year, we were able to place our first plaque out in the memorial, the courtyard, commemorative courtyard that we've established for former Commissioner Mr. Billy Morgan. And at that time, we had some discussions going on about who else we would like to have in there, and if we had a policy. If you'll recall, I did bring you a policy. It looked a little different than this one. It also included naming of buildings and structures, and that was something that the board indicated that they were not interested in. So this policy here does not mention anything about naming structures. It's strictly about placing a commemorative plaque out in the commemorative courtyard. I will point out that the board here, you all have the sole discretion of who goes into that memorial courtyard and who does not. I did want to point out at 2.3, and so, you know, I don't create anything from scratch. So this was something that was pulled from another policy that I had found, but they had that an event will have occurred at least 10 years previously unless it's of extraordinary and long-lasting consequence to Nash County. I didn't know if that particular clause was something that you all would want to have in yours, if you're happy with the 10-year, if you think it's not necessary. Just give me some feedback on that.
Anything else?
And then I'll point out in 3.2, this policy does say that the board will accept nominations from any citizen or group of citizens. And then in the frequency, 3.3, it indicates that the board will take under consideration a maximum of 2 plaques per budget cycle, per budget year.
Okay. Comments or questions from the board?
Will there be any flexibility in this procedure to allow the board to allow for more in circumstances that might warrant that?
I think that would be the board's decision.
I think we should have that flexibility.
So don't put a maximum number?
I'm fine with the maximum, but I think there may be situations where you might want to exceed the maximum.
Well, I think the board can make that decision at any time.
Now, couldn't that,
Well, should that be in here?
Sure, I will add that.
I mean, that's just me. Others may not feel that way.
Well, I think, Mr. Outlaw, to keep it clear that we would like to do it pretty rarely. I think what it would require, if we had a situation to do that, rather than be in a policy, would be 2 votes to do it. One to amend the policy for this particular vote, and then vote if we had, say, 3 in 1 year, rather than to be in the policy, because that would actually defeat what the policy says almost. If that would be okay, we'd just handle it like that on a case-by-case basis.
Well, that's fine. It's going to happen, and it's just going to be another vote at some point in time.
Sure, but they could be right behind one another. Ms. Belfield?
oh, I was just gonna, almost say what you just said. I don't see the need for us to amend this now. We need to, when the circumstances come up, then we weigh them and do what need to be done at that time.
Other comments? I just think 2.3, reading it over and over, is gonna be hard to define what it actually means. I mean, for instance, we got one in consideration now. Do we wait 10 years to do that, or the fact that it had been going on for an extended long period of time, does that take care of it in itself?
No, this,
What does that mean, I guess?
So in the commemorative courtyard, you all can recognize either a person or an event.
Okay.
And so 2.3 is related to an
Ben,
event.
okay, I got it. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. Other comments? Pleasure of the board, and what we're asked to do is adopt this as our policy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion by Ms. Wells, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And a second, any other questions, comments?
Just one more
Mr.
question.
Outlaw?
So we've got 2 per year that we're saying we could possibly put out there. What is the process by which we go out and get input on who those 2 may be? I mean, we got it in a policy,
Right.
but how do we promote it? Something like, I know this is not like the Twin County Hall of Fame, but
Right.
that's a program that is promoted in the community. So if we just stick this in a policy, then we potentially, I know we're going to have one more,
Right.
but I'd hate in 3 or 4 years to walk out there and there just be 2 out there because there's no knowledge of the program throughout the community.
Good point.
Well, we can definitely put it on our website if there's a more formal process that the board would like for us to put out there so that it's an advertised application opportunity or something along those lines.
Well, you're going to get, once you promote it, you're going to get input. And
Right.
then you're going to have a plan, a program, a procedure by which you determine from, let's just be very optimistic and say you get 20. Then somebody's got to determine who the 2 of the 20 is going to be. What's the criteria? I mean,
This board makes that decision.
well, then let's make it.
Now, what you mean by that last statement, Mr. Outlaw?
What I'm saying is, we need to develop a program to promote and determine how these individuals are selected. So if that board needs to make that decision, then let's make it, and then let's determine who's going to develop that process. Because this is just very, very minimal in terms of, we know we got 2 if we want to, but how do you select them? And who does it? Who makes that decision? If you got 10 that are submitted and you're going to pick 2 of the 10, I mean, there's got to be some criteria for making that decision. I mean, just like the Twin County Hall of Fame, I'm not involved in that, but I'm betting that every year they get a whole lot more than what they actually
30 left.
put in there.
They do.
And so those people that are not selected,
30.
they're probably going to have some question, well, why wasn't I selected?
They have a committee that goes through each one of the applications and see what the person has done, how they qualify. And I think, see if they're really, maybe they all qualify, but there may be some that's done a little bit more. They don't throw them away, they keep them, they can come back up the next year.
I understand that.
And
That's,
so they have a committee that goes
my
through.
point
each
is,
one
we
of the
don't
applications. Yeah.
have that.
We had 30 last year, and 20-some carried over.
As written, I interpret to me, Mr. Outlaw, that this board would be making those decisions. Do you envision it needing to be different than that?
I mean, that would be the board's decision. I would think the board would probably have that authority to make that decision.
Come to the board.
But, and you talk about, you had 30 and you had 10 and 20 carried over. So let's just say next year you get 30 and you have 10 and 20 carry over.
Well, 10 or 20 can
Then
drop off.
you're gonna have, well, that's my point. I mean, it's kind of like Hall of Fame in baseball. You stay on the list for
20 years, 30
20 years, and then do you drop off or you just keep growing the list? I mean, I think there's some work that needs to be done. I like this, and I'm glad to see us doing this, but I think we do need a committee or whatever's appropriate to establish you know, exactly how we're gonna execute on this program. That's just me.
Where I'm at in the process, I have a motion on the floor to accept it. I have a second, and we are still in discussion. Any other discussion?
I just think I see a difference in this than the museum and all the same thing. I think, to me, this out here is representing county government a whole lot. I know there are more people not in county government, but I think that we kind of started with Billy and the years that he had put into county government. And I think that would be one of the things people would look at as the committee. It could come back to the board of commissioners because they may know more about that person or something else. So, you know, maybe the board of commissioners makes the final decision.
Well, that's actually what it states.
Yeah.
And I think it goes beyond county government too. I mean,
I agree.
it could be, I mean, just to use this as an example, the work that's been done with the Miracle Park. I mean, at some point, we may want to recommend somebody be recognized from that. I mean, that's just one thing to look at. You know. Tim Valentine, I mean, United States Congressman, I mean, we got a lot of people that have done a lot of things, county government and otherwise, in Nash County.
Mr. Leggett, you have a puzzled look. Did you have a thought or a comment? Okay.
I will say, if you open it too wide open, now you're gonna have a courtyard full of, out there, and you ain't gonna have nowhere to put somebody else. I think,
Well, at 2 a
I think
year-
it ought to be,
At 2 a year, you and I will be dead about 50 years before that courtyard's full.
well, but I mean, I ain't saying you
You
should.
don't have the same outlook on life as I do,
No,
Commissioner.
go out and look at that courtyard.
I
There's a
understand.
lot of blocks out there.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I think, you know, I just,
But if you take everybody that gets nominated, you just,
you got,
that's
if
kind
they
of
get nominated, you've got to consider them. That doesn't mean you will select them, but, you know, anybody can nominate anybody. Then there has to be a process for selection,
Yeah,
but anybody can be nominated.
yeah. And also a criteria. And which-
Didn't we have a
which can be worked-
criteria? Is this just an amendment to what we've already done? Did we adopt anything?
We
You
have
did not.
No, we shifted because well, there were a lot of comments and a lot more work we thought needed to be done on it, so we just didn't move forward with the policy itself quite yet. And I think I brought it back up, if we were gonna do another one, we should soon get a policy in our policy manual so we know how to go about it. Maybe we don't have to have a policy, maybe we just,
Well, you ought to have a criteria.
we need something.
And that in itself, the criteria will probably most likely cut down on having a floor 20 or 30 coming in at one time. If they know what your criteria is, and then you won't have such a,
Well,
in my opinion, you wouldn't have such a large number to have to look at.
the purpose right here in 1.0 says a lot, and that should set the criteria for who even should be nominated.
All right, is there a commissioner that hasn't spoke on this that wishes to speak?
Well, couldn't the staff look at,
Mr. Belfield, let me see if it's one that hadn't spoke, then I'll start back over. Seeing none, Mr. Belfield, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Richardson, yes, ma'am.
Just before you go there, I think from listening to it, I think if, with, our Assistant Manager, Ms. Chestnut, and, the Board of Commissioners, I think working together on that, from what she's already done, I think it would work fine.
All right. Mr. Belfield, further comment?
oh, I was just gonna say that maybe we just use the professional staff here and let them come up with a criteria and present it to us, and we can adopt it. And then that can be put on, online, Facebook, so people will see it. And if they see that, what the criteria is all about, I just don't think you're gonna see a rush of a lot of people applications coming in to be considered.
Other comments? Since I have a motion and a second, I've got to call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you.
Yes, all policies can certainly be a work in progress. If we see we need to amend it moving forward, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm now on item number 9, which is a addendum number 4 for the Northern Nash Water System. Mr. Boone, who has a long title, County Engineer, Utility Director, and Facilities Director as well. Good afternoon.
Very congested business card.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Davis, fellow commissioners. I wanted to present for your consideration this afternoon, contract amendment number 4 on the Northern Ash Water System. Happy to report as of 12 a.m. last night, the clock started ticking on our next expansion project. Wish I could report that there was some progress underway. Understand that materials have been ordered or en route to our location. We may have some crews on site as early as next week. But again, the contract documents allow for 450 days for contract 1, which is installing the lines and related appurtenances, and contract 2 for the water tank. But we're here to talk about the Amendment 4 for the overall project. So there are some elements of the project that were not originally addressed in the contract that was awarded to the Wooten Company. You'll see there's some additional services related to bidding and negotiation that need to be addressed, contract administration, which included all the progress meetings, reviewing the cut sheets, coordinating with the contractors, any questions who come up over the course of the project, and then finally, construction inspection. You will see that we have negotiated a reduction in the cost of the construction observation services due to our intentions to use a part-time construction inspector on staff. But the total amendment there is $319,600. Total fees, less the construction observation, brings us about 10% of the overall contract as it currently exists. But anticipate we will have a third contract that will expend the remaining dollars, not expended in phases 1 and 2. So that I see your brow furrowed just a little bit. I may have confused you by that. So contract 1, recall, is for the lines. That's $5.7 million as awarded to ELJ Contracting. The elevated tank is about $1 million. The overall budget is a little over $9 million. So we know we have some additional money to expend on the project, but we want to wait until we get into contracts 1 and 2, make sure there's no unforeseen items that come up before we decide how to spend the rest of the money.
And that would most likely be an additional line extensions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got it now. You read faces as well, sir. Any questions on this? Mr. Boone, I appreciate your work on a long idea of potentially saving money by utilizing part-time inspectors. And of course, you have a great knowledge of people that's available to do that due to your background. And so I appreciate you looking into doing that. And I'm sure there's other things that we can utilize these people in our utility system moving forward. No questions from commissioners? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion stands approved. Thank you, sir. The next item is also an amendment for a construction project for the Middlesex Corporate Center. Mr. Boone, I'll let you move forward with that, sir.
Yes, sir. Similar situation, although this would be Amendment 1 to that contract. This is for the project to extend the roadway, or actually construct the roadway into the Middlesex Corporate Center Park, and to install water and sewer infrastructure on that project. And this amendment addresses, again, the construction inspection services that will be required to inspect those improvements as they are constructed. As with the Northern Ash project, we will utilize our part-time inspector to try to reduce the amount of time that an inspector from the Wooten Company will be on site, but do recognize the need due to their expertise, particularly as it relates to construction of the elevated water tank, and their need to provide an inspector that can assist the engineer to certify the improvements once complete and submit the requisite documentation to the Department of Environmental Quality. So this contract amendment is for $90,100.
All right, any questions on item number 10? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett, I think. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion also carries. Thank you, Mr. Boone.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 11, State Acquisition Relocation Fund Grant Program for Hurricane Matthew buyout, homeowners, and grant ordinance. Ms. Wood?
Okay, good afternoon. This item for an ordinance in February 4th, 2019, the county commissioners authorized the county manager and planning director to execute documents related to the 2019 State Acquisition Relocation Fund Program in conjunction with the Hurricane Matthew Acquisition Buyout Program. Pursuant to the Disaster Recovery Acts of 2016, 17, and 18, a grant of $181,500 through the North Carolina Department of Public Safety Division of Emergency Management was approved through a memorandum of agreement with Nash County for the program period October 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2022. The attached project ordinance is presented for approval in order to move forward with this program. Are there any questions?
All right, any questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Belfield, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on this motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Thank you, Mr. Boone. We'll move to item number 12, which is budget amendments.
Okay, I have 3 budget amendments. The first one is with the Soil and Water Department. This budget amendments to budget grant funds to support a rising Nash County High School junior or senior to attend the Resource Conservation Workshop to be held June 23rd to the 28th at North Carolina State University. It's for $500. No additional county dollars are required.
I'd like to vote on these individually if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, any questions on that budget amendment? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
The next item is within education. This budget amendments to budget additional funds for Nash Community College capital for safety and security upgrades to finalize a project that was initially planned to take place over a 2-year period. The total project was estimated at $244,000, with $150,000 budgeted in the 18-19 budget. However, to finalize the project in the current year, an additional $94,000 is requested. This additional funding will fund access monitoring for additional campus stores, communication radios, additional cameras, and repairs to existing campus cameras.
Okay. Refresh the Commissioner's memory, we entertained this at our budget review and approval last year. We did give the community college an option of taking a price to do this extended work all in one contract rather than have it over a 2-year period. I don't recall the amount of money, and it may say here how much we saved by doing that, but it was a considerable amount of money we saved. Therefore, this is what we need to add to do what we committed to do if indeed we saw it save money. So we're really saving money in next year's budget by doing this way. Mr. Belfield?
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. Putting it in this year's fiscal year budget would save you from having to put it in 1920 budget.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if we're not saving any money, then why not just put it in our fiscal year budget that we're working on now?
Well, actually, to incur expense in a contract, you have to have the funds budgeted in the year.
They're working on it, right? They're working on it now.
Well, they actually took contracts already, have done part of the work, but the contract was in 2 phases where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember this right, where they had an alternate to do the second part under the same contract, and it saved I remember a figure like $34,000. Mr. Outlaw,
Yes, sir.
okay. So
Well,
There
if
was
that,
a savings.
that's what we say by approving it in this budget year.
if that's the case, then, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any other questions on it? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? The last budget amendment, I would like to request we table this until our June meeting. My reason for making this request is we've got another budget amendment coming in June that is going to outline some budget shortfalls in the operation budget for the detention center, as well as we are currently incurring a significant cost on a daily basis, something to the tune of about $125,000 a month or $1.5 million a year. That I really would like to see this board get a handle on what the total cost is going to be before we would incur any additional non-essential capital improvements. So not having all that information, I just request it be tabled if we could, and I'd entertain a motion for that.
Move the request.
Have a motion, is there a second to that motion? Second. Any questions on that motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Woods. Everybody okay to keep moving?
Yep.
You're gonna have about a
30-minute.
30-minute presentation. Do you want a break before that or after that? I thought I would change your mind. I call for a
Yes.
10-minute recess. Back to order at this time, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Lamb for our annual budget presentation for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, also our department heads, employees, and citizens of Nash County. Today, if you would, go to the page after the table of contents, and you can read along. I have about a 10-page budget message. The details of what's in the budget you can find in the information provided in the tabs behind the message. This 2019-2020 budget is presented to you in accordance with the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. The proposed budget is presented subject to a public hearing and the Nash County Board of Commissioners' possible revisions and approval. This budget as presented is balanced as required by law. The budget provides the resources needed to ensure the delivery of governmental services in a fiscally responsible manner. This budget is one of the best tools to demonstrate the board's priorities for the future of Nash County. This proposed budget is a continuation of the financially sound and fiscally conservative practices established and embraced by Nash County government. The budget contains the expenditures and revenues of all county funds. My message will primarily, however, concentrate on the general fund. This budget, general fund, is proposed to be $95,078,479, which is a 1.22% increase over the current year's budget of $93.9 million. The budget as recommended is based on a 67-cent tax rate, the same as FY 18-19. This represents the 10th consecutive year since the revow of 2009 that the tax rate has remained at 67 cents. It's also, personally speaking, the 18th straight year I have presented to a Board of Commissioners a budget without a tax increase. I'm hoping to make it 20.
We'll help you.
Wait for comments.
The tax rate, as recommended, is able to remain consistent with the current year without reducing services to our citizens due to moderate tax base growth of approximately 2.68%. Also increases in sales tax revenue collections and the use of previously reserved general fund appropriations designated for various capital projects. These reserve funds can now be designated for debt service. The budget provides sufficient funds to continue current service levels and requires no increase in any general fund taxes or fees. Moreover, the budget will maintain the healthy financial condition of Nash County. As noted in our most recent audit, as of June 30th, 2018, the county enjoyed a fund balance of 31.37% of its expenditures during that year. County administration received budget requests, revenue estimates, and other financial information from various officials, officers, department heads, and agencies of Nash County. The proposed budget is based on staff information and information provided by and input from the county commissioners. Each department or agency presented an original budget request to the finance office. The county manager met with each department head to establish a budget for submission to the Nash County Board of Commissioners. Subsequently, the commissioners have preliminarily reviewed the budget. In the case of special appropriations requested by outside government agencies and nonprofit organizations, including the school board and the community college, the recommended appropriations reflect the results of budget work sessions involving the Board of Commissioners and county staff. First of all, before I go further, I want to thank the commissioners for their hard work on this budget and for all they do for Nash County. When you look at Washington and Raleigh, and you just have to appreciate the civility and unity that this board exhibits. They may not always vote the same, but they're very respectful of each other, and I'm glad to work for a Board of Commissioners that maintain that kind of honor and integrity. I also want to thank our finance staff, Melanie Eason, and of course the director, Donna Wood, as well as Stacy, our assistant county manager, for their hard work on this budget. I finally want to thank all our department heads, many of whom are here today, for their understanding of the budget process. That understanding is much appreciated. Their professionalism is much appreciated. And again, I want to thank y'all for all your hard work. I'm very proud that many of you in here today have been hired since I've been county manager, and I'm very proud of the caliber of department heads that we have here in this county. Highlights of the budget include ad valorem tax revenue reflects a 2.8% or $1.36 million increase over the current budget year due to an increase in tax values for this year. The increase is primarily due to new construction, increases in personal property taxes, and registered motor vehicle taxes. Sales tax collections are estimated to increase approximately $882,000, which is about 6% over the current year. This projection is based on our analysis of sales tax trends through 8 months of this year. The estimate also takes into consideration the continued impact of the expanded application of sales tax to include sales and services that were passed in 2016 related to the distribution of additional sales tax for economic development, public education, and community colleges. As a result of the needs-based public school capital fund grant of $10 million awarded in October of 2018 to assist with the construction of a new elementary school in the northern part of the county, lottery funds will not be available for funding of certain school debt service as funded in the current year and prior years. We have collected prior to October, when we got this grant, approximately $1.1 million a year in lottery funds. $936,000 of that went towards the debt service for Rocky Mount High School. So we're having to make that up with general fund revenues. We will not have lottery funds for a period of 5 years, which is going to be 2023. Due to the sale of our home health agency in August of 2018, general fund revenues and expenditures for home health are not included in this budget. General fund appropriations totaling $1.8 million, which were previously transferred by the board to various projects, including the Shell building, the courthouse project, and the radio project, are included as a revenue back into the general fund to pay debt service on those 3 projects. The state required retirement rate for local government increased from 7.81% for next year to 9% for general county employees, and also increased from 8.5 to 9.7 for law enforcement officers, respectively, resulting in an increase to our budget of $375,000. This is the most extreme increase I've seen in 20 years. The Retirement Board of Trustees say this is necessary to make the fund actuarially sound. Very importantly, the cost of living adjustment, COLA adjustment of 5% is included in this budget for all full-time and part-time employees as part of the ongoing commitment by Nash County Commissioners to keep our salaries competitive in the marketplace. This 5%, which is added to the 5% commissioners gave employees last year, will add an additional, just for this year, $1.83 million to our budget. I cannot tell you how much this second increase of 5% is appreciated by our department heads and staff. It was needed, and the commissioners stepped up to the plate and delivered. The 5% COLA plus the retirement increases equal about 6% on the salary side. 46% of our budget is salaries and benefits. So the fact that we were able to keep the budget at an increase of only 1.22% when 46% of the budget is having to go up about 6%, it is just a great testament to the hard work that the finance office has done. The general fund budget includes funding for 11 additional full-time positions. The positions are as follows. Human Resources got 1 position, which was a transfer from the home health agency, which the commissioners promised all home health employees that the county would find other placements for them in county government, and they kept their promise. One of those positions, as I said, has gone to human resources. 2 have gone to social services, and 5 went into the health department, where they have been able to expand their clinics and services to the public. Also, there are 3 new positions in the sheriff's, full-time positions in the sheriff's office provided for in this budget. Health insurance benefits are budgeted to increase about $209,000, reflecting an estimated increase of 5% effective January of 2020 for all our active employees in the state health insurance plan. Where this year the per employee cost per month is about $520. And again, we're estimating that to go up. We do not have the figures yet, to go up 5%, which is consistent with last year. In economic development, the budget includes 1/4 funding for Carolina Gateway Partnership, with the remaining funds budgeted to start a new position as an in-house industrial economic development director. Funding for existing inducement agreements increased this budget compared to the original budget last year by $310,000, primarily due to the Hospira Pfizer inducement for expansion that the commissioners agreed to several years ago. That inducement each year now is over $900,000 a year. The school system current expense and capital expense budgets remain the same as last year. There is an increase for the Nash Community College for current expense. They have 3 new buildings since they've gotten a new maintenance position, and the commissioners have been asked to fund a new maintenance position and to cover increasing benefit costs. And so that was another $140,000. We're also got capital outlay increases to provide $70,000 to modernize an elevator in Building A, an additional capital outlay of $21,000, which we could have put in the school budget or the community college budget because of their joint efforts with the city high expansion. There's a net increase of $324,000 in debt service. This is primarily due to new installment financing for the Public Safety Radio Project, a priority project of the Nash County Commissioners. Capital expenditures decreased by approximately $651,000. This is due in part to the CAD funding that the commissioners approved last year in the amount of $381,000 that will not have to be reoccurring. It also is reflective of a shift that the sheriff's office proposed to get less vehicles from the general fund, but more from the federal asset forfeiture funds. Funding for Braswell Library will increase approximately $22,000. This includes a 3% total funding increase for cost of living increases. This is based on a new formula. We've been working with a formula that had not been recalculated since 2004. We have recalculated that formula now, and the commissioners have preliminarily agreed to fund $872,000 contingent upon our partners, Edgecombe County and Rocky Mount also increasing their funds by the 3% growth with the new formula. County revenues include transfers from funds. Without the transfer of funds, we're going to see about $90,263,000 come from the general fund, excluding the fund balance appropriated. That's new revenues coming into the county. Fund balance appropriated is $4,815,000, and that brings the total general fund to $95,078,000. The next chart you can see is the tax collection chart. Doris and the tax office have done a great job over the last 5 years increasing our tax collections, and that's reflected on that chart. Our current tax collection rate, according to the last audit, was 98.73. The collection rate for real and personal property was 98.56, and under the new vehicle system, motor vehicle system, we have collected 100% of the taxes on motor vehicles. However, although the tax collection rate is 98.73, for budgeting purposes, we continue to use the 97.5% rate, collection rate, which gives us a little leeway so that we can collect and deal with that fund balance appropriated. I don't need to say it, I think y'all know it, but the tax office is committed to maintaining Nash County's high tax collection rate during future years and will continue to concentrate on the collection of prior year delinquent taxes. If you look at the next chart, you'll see that our 10-year outstanding balance of uncollected taxes has been going down every year. Part of that is because the 10-year, the 11-year-old taxes that were vehicles under the old system are going away each year, but it's also a reflection of the tax office collecting more in the current year and collecting more of the prior year delinquent taxes. The estimated tax base and rate, we have a rate of 67 cents, and the amount of revenue expected to be collected is determined by the tax base and the tax collection rate. Again, using the 97.5 collection rate. But if you assumed 100% collection, we would collect for each penny of the 67 cents that is levied by the commissioners, $752,700. 88.6% of our budget is real and personal property and public utilities. And for each penny, they produce $666,500. And our motor vehicles represent 11.4% of our overall ad valorem taxes. And for each penny we collect, or 100% collection would be 86.2%. The budget anticipates $49,170,000 in ad valorem taxes from all sources, real, personal, property, public utilities, and motor vehicles. Again, because we are estimating at 97.5, we believe our actual tax collections of ad valorem taxes will be approaching 51 million. And again, that $2 million extra will help offset the fund balance appropriated. We also anticipate collecting $580,000 in prior year delinquent taxes, as well as $213,000 in penalties, interest, and other charges assessed upon delinquent taxes. The total amount of the above taxes anticipated, as I said, is $49,963,000. This amount represents 52.5% of the general fund revenue, including transfers, but if you exclude transfers, ad valorem taxes represent 55.3% of our new dollars coming into the county being collected through ad valorem taxes. Sales taxes, we estimate those collections will be $15.6 million. Of course, part of that money is restricted for school capital needs. We use that restricted money for the payment of school debt as well as school capital budget needs current year. You can see human services, we will collect $8,741,000 from federal and state and federal and local fees for the Department of Social Services. We'll also receive $3.7 million from state and federal revenues and fees for the health department. We're also anticipating $3.36 million in EMS collections, as well as $560 in the EMS Medicaid settlement that occurs each year. Their budget now, I believe, is around $7-8 million. So you can see where we're collecting significant fees to offset the cost of our county EMS. The registered deeds fees, the building permits, and sheriff's fees, parks and recreation fees are estimated at $1.1 million. Investment earnings, which of course had gone down when we had zero interest on money to less than $100,000, has gone back up, and we are now comfortable budgeting as a revenue $750,000 in investment earnings. I will say that registered deeds, I always feel like I must say this, but she is collecting more fees than her office cost. So it is self-sustaining. Their budget is going up slightly, a little bit this year, but that's all automation money, which is set aside to make our old books better for the public and more secure for history. As you can see, we are going to use some transfers from other funds to fund debt service. The Shell Building, $306,000. The courthouse project, $1.1 million. That'll leave us about $850,000 that we should be able to use next year in the budget, and $336,000 for the radio project. Again, the commissioners set aside money for these projects, and then because of the loan proceeds and keeping things on budget, we weren't required, we didn't need to use those set-aside funds, and we can either use them for additional things on those projects, or we can use them for debt service. So we've been able this year to use them for debt service. And I always joke that sometimes I get requests that I can't pull a rabbit out of my hat, but I think Donna Wood pulled a rabbit out of her hat this year. finding that money. We were really concerned about our overall budget, and being able to use those funds have really made a difference. Each year, we use fund balance to balance the budget. This year, it's $3 million, I believe. Last year, it was $2.8 million. We also are appropriating from fund balance from Medicaid and Medicare, I suppose, funds from the about $900,000 compared to $300,000 from that reserve fund for the health department last year. However, our capital fund balance appropriated is coming down quite significantly, and I'll touch on that in just a second. Our general government budget is $9.8 million. That includes the governing board, the administration, finance, tax department, facilities, maintenance, elections, personnel, register of deeds, and IT. So about 10% of our budget goes towards those core functions of county government. The public safety budget is $24,400,000. That includes law enforcement, jail, emergency services, and animal control, and EMS under emergency services. Our economic and fiscal development budget this year is $3.2 million. It funds planning and inspections, cooperative extension, soil and water, rural transportation planning, the airport, and economic development. The economic development budget this year has 1/4 payment to the Carolina Gateway. It has the inducement to Pfizer and CFE, and also, again, budgets $30,000, which was an initiative of the board last year to provide small grants to small businesses as part of its emphasis, bringing in Susan Phelps to recruit retail business here in the county. Again, I've already talked about the health department for the most part, and the social services. We will spend a total of $14.1 million, of which part of that, again, comes from the state. But the county funding for that is $5.3 million. The Office of Juvenile and Home Mental Health, other human services total right at $2,187,000. Cultural and recreation, that total budget includes the expansion, monies needed for the expansion of Miracle Park, as well as the increase in the library funding, and the slight increase for the 5 municipal libraries. That totals right over $1 million. Education spending totals $24,700,000. That includes $20,500,000 for current expense for the Nash Rocky Mount School System, and $1.4 million for capital outlay. It also provides the funds that I talked about earlier, the $2.3 for current expense for the community college, plus almost $500,000 for capital for the community college and the city high improvements. The overall debt service the county is now paying in its $95 million budget, as you can see here, is $6,308,000, or about 6.5%. You can see where those funds are being used for. We're using restricted sales tax, as I said before, for debt service for the Nash Rocky Mount School, and also for the capital outlay to the schools. Debt service for Nash Community College is right at $700,000, and that's to pay back the GO bonds that the people of the county overwhelmingly supported for the continuing education and public facilities building. Under 11, capital spending, you can see that, I'm not going to name all of them, but we are going to use $50,000 in our PEG money, which is public education and, let me see, I'm not sure what G stands for, but that's money we get from cable TV proceeds, and we're going to use that to improve the system here in the commissioner's meeting room. We also are purchasing a new tax vehicle, a truck for public utilities, 36 new voting tabulators, about $160,000 there, some IT improvements, funding the sheriff's office elevator. We've had a problem with that, a vehicle for Parks and Rec, a mower for Miracle Park, and some laptops replacements for EMS. That's an overview of the general fund. I'll briefly touch on the other funds. The utility fund on page 9, the water sewer fund and the solid waste funds. They are enterprise funds. They do not use county tax dollars. They are supported by user fees. The only change in the water and sewer fund are deposit fees for high-risk customers, as well as connection fees and taps, updating those. They haven't been updated in quite a while, and they are going to slightly increase. Fire districts, as y'all know, there's 18 fire districts in the county, and they each set, or they are each nonprofits, and they come to the county each year and ask us to levy a tax on their behalf so that they can provide very critical services for the citizens of the county. The three of the 18 are asking for an increase this year: Westmount, Castelia, and Whitaker's. They are requesting that the county commissioners approve in their budget ordinance these increases. And I know that the commissioners believe in the autonomy of the fire departments and appreciate their role serving the people of the county. Finally, a copy of this budget has been filed with the clerk to the board and is available for public inspection in the manager's office, as well as on the county website. A notice of public hearing will be published in the local papers. The same published statement will also give notice of the time and place of the public hearing, during which any person who may wish to comment on the budget may appear before the Board of Commissioners in public hearing. No earlier than 10 days after today's date, or May 30th, the date of the formal budget presentation, and no later than July 1, 2019, the Nash County Board of Commissioners must hold a public hearing and thereafter adopt a budget ordinance making appropriations, estimating revenues, and levying taxes for the coming fiscal year. County staff recommends the commissioners hold the public hearing at your regular meeting in June, which is June the 3rd. And we would ask you today to call for that public hearing. This budget represents our best estimate of revenues and expenditures during the coming year. As with any budget, during the course of the year, budget adjustments may be necessary. Some of those are within a budget which staff can move money within a department budget. But also, the commissioners must approve any budget amendments increasing or decreasing a department's total expenditures during the course of the fiscal year. And I just want to say that our department heads do a great job living within your budgets. I'm amazed. We may have to move things between line items, but it's very rare that we have to increase department budgets, and that's just testament to the great job our department heads are performing. I urge the commissioners and the citizens of the county to carefully consider and study this proposed budget. If there are any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. On behalf of your county staff, we look forward to working with the commissioners during the coming year to provide the best services possible at the most reasonable cost to the taxpayers of Nash County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Any questions from commissioners about this presentation at this time?
Good presentation.
I need to go through it. I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. Okay. I made just a couple of notes, Mr. Lamb, before you leave. The register of deeds, you say is self-supporting, and if they end up at the end of the year having excess revenue, what could that be spent for? Does it go in general fund, or does it have to be left in the register of deeds in some way? Or does it go in the holding fund?
There's an automation fund.
Right.
With each instrument that is charged, that has to be used.
So it just goes in that automation fund?
Right.
Okay.
However, other revenues collected just roll into the general fund.
Okay.
There is no reserve required for those funds.
Right, right, just that register of deeds. And then under other revenues, Donna, if you could just give us a breakdown of that line item, I'd like to see that. Just the item of other revenues. And the last question, the fund balance appropriation that we have this year of $4.8 million is the largest that I can remember in my time on the board. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Lamb?
Actually, I believe it's a little less than this year, about $17,000 less than what we did this year. This year, we had 2.8 in the balancing factor, 300,000 from health reserves, and 1.6 million in one-time capital projects. That capital figure has gone down considerably. If you look on page 6, paragraph 8, it shows you the total this year compared to last year and the decrease of approximately $17,000.
You're right, yes, sir. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Does the call for the public hearing require any action of this board?
We would request that we put on the record that you called for the public hearing.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on the
June the 3rd.
night, sir,
Is it?
for the budget year 1920 on June the 3rd at 9 a.m.
So moved.
I offer motion to that we do that on
Okay,
June
I have a
the 30th.
motion by Mr. Belfield, a second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign, that public hearing will be published in the local papers for June the 3rd at 9 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Lamb, and I'm sure you didn't prepare this all by yourself, and therefore, thank you for all the staff members that have worked on it. Just walking through, I know it has been a concentrated effort and all hands on deck, it seems like, for about the last 2 months. The other thing that, in a meeting that some of us were in recently, we did a little comparison of our budget preparation calendar that we were issued back in January, which kind of amazed the entity that we were in, that we got published a calendar in January of how the budget process will roll out and what date certain things will be done. So I just think that's another great thing that Nash County does to let us know up front exactly where we're gonna be at each given point, and we're right on schedule, right where it said it would be. And hopefully we'll finish it up after the public hearing, and if no major questions, maybe even adopt it on that same day, but we would have June has about 27 more days. We could approve it if we needed to delay it for anything. At this time, on item number 14, and Vice Chair Outlaw, I will give it back to you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just remind you that for these reports, if you have not had a meeting or you have no items of significant interest, then just indicate no report in the interest of time. District 1, Commissioner Richardson.
Yes, we've had 2 meetings, I think, since our last board meeting. And Trinity 1 and 2 in Nashville has been on a new management with new staff, and quite naturally, they're having a little problem. But the Ombudsman and Department of Social Services are working together to work out those incidents. And I think it will be completed shortly.
Any questions of Ms. Richardson? Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Commissioner Belfield, District 2.
Farmers Market, we haven't had a meeting. They had a call meeting and I wasn't able to attend, so I have no report for the Farmers Market other than that my observation and going by their own days when the vendors are there selling, which is on Saturdays. The parking lot is full, and if it keep growing, eventually we might need some more parking space.
I think we're working on that.
And looking at it right now, that might be very soon. Okay, the next one is juvenile crime prevention. We heard reports of those agencies that were funded, and during the past month, there were 3 youth retained through the court system, and everything else is doing fine. And we have passed the budget for funding. I believe it's, let me look at it. I believe it's eight agencies for the fiscal year coming up. Yeah, 9 agencies. The next one is Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government. We've passed that budget for the fiscal year. A lot of it, though, is pending on what they're going to get, what they expect to get from the state and the federal government. We heard a report where they're launching a study in eastern North Carolina, 2 of the regions. Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government is one of those regions, and it's called the Southeast Regional Study. and it's done by Southeast Regional Directors Institute. And once that study has been made and we get the results, I will pass it on to the Board of Commissioners. The group that's doing it was introduced to us in our last meeting. Tar River Transit, we're scheduled to meet Thursday next week. We haven't had a meeting since last fall. We tried to schedule these meetings now on a quarterly basis, and rather than just having call meetings like we had mostly in the past 3 or 4 years. Nash Economic Development, we're working on, in fact, we've done some work on the board. We have new officers. President is active from Wilson County, and Stacy is vice chair, and I'm treasurer. And I get to sign the checks. So,
You got the best end of the deal, Mr. Bell.
well, it's kind of taxing because I mean, it's a lot. I know Wednesday before last, I signed almost 200 checks. But it was needed. Changes had to be made. Hood made some stipulations. There were board members, some people on the board that had been on there more than 12 or more years, and Hood, that's a no-no. So some had to go off. And we have pretty much almost a new board. Everything look optimistic. We're moving on to get things in line the way it ought to be. That's not the first time that had to be done. I can remember about 18 years ago, some changes had to be made. And so, and especially with Head Start. So that is my report. I say, Stacy, you have anything you want to add on to what I said about both of us went on the need board at the same time?
Well, we did also have the election for the 2 districts in Nash County. So we have
Oh, that's right.
Amy Pridgeon Hamlet on the board again, representing low-income folks, advocating for those, and Kim Nicholson, who works in our Department of Social Services as well. Those 2 individuals. So for Nash County, the 6 seats that we can fill are filled.
Great.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I didn't make a note of that. I forgot it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Belfield. District 3, Commissioner Combs.
Health and Human Services Board did meet Thursday, April the 18th. We got a report from Tyler from Veteran Services. In the month of March, he saw 179 veterans. There was some discussion about what veterans mainly come to his office for. Mostly health care and VA pension and compensations. There were 2,039 low-income energy applications during the winter, and they all were served. And Mr. Hill's here. We had a presentation on 2018 health care rankings. Nash County ranked number 76 out of 100, and we were number 1 of all our surrounding counties. So you want to say something about that, Mr. Hill?
It's certainly not a figure that we'd be proud of. We'd like to be number 1 or 2 or 3 like Orange County or Guilford County or Bethlehem. But we do extremely well with clinical services. We rank very well. We have a comprehensive array of clinical services in our area. Just about any specialty you want, you can find in Nash County, specifically right now. But when you talk about the environmental issues
We appreciate what you do. Thank you, sir. The Agriculture Advisory Board has not met. I did not go to the Trillium Regional Meeting. That was the same day as our budget retreat in Sharpsburg, so I will be attending that on May the 28th.
Any,
That's all I have.
any questions? Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Commissioner Combs. District 4, Commissioner Leggett, just indicate that board appointments are being determined, and I think you'll see some appointments coming up in the next month or so. Still relatively new to the board. District 5, Nash Community College, graduation was on May the 16th and the 17th. Senator Rick Horner was the keynote speaker on the 17th, and as always, he did an excellent job. It's important to note that this was the final graduation ceremony under the leadership of President Carver, who will be retiring later this year. The presidential selection process is underway. That's being chaired by Vice Chairman Sonny Foster. President Carver will remain in his position until his replacement starts, and there's a target date of November the 1st. The North Carolina bond referendum funds, I've got an update on that. I've got a handout, which I'll hand out after this meeting, and anyone else wants it, I'd be glad to provide that to you. It's worthy of note on that bond referendum money that the community college has put well over $2 million back into the college through deferred maintenance projects. Upper Coastal Plain RPO, changes in the State Transportation Improvement Plan. So our May 22nd meeting has been rescheduled to July. The RPO TAC adoption of the final STIP project list will be in November. That'll meet a December 20th deadline. I'm going to hold broadband until last. Ms. McGee is going to give us a brief update on that, and I think she's got a handout. I do indicate that I have had the opportunity to serve on the Nash Healthcare Board for several months now, and that was with Ms. Barnes' departure to the North Carolina General Assembly. And I think it'd be very important for me to note that in the few months that I've had the opportunity to serve on that board, that what my observations are. And they would be that that board is very strong. They have a very strong board. They're very professional. They have a committed leadership team led by Dr. Lee Isley. And I believe with all my heart that they are serious about the hospital's financial status and the quality of care provided. With that said, you receive the same information I do. I assume, Janice, that that information goes out to different members of the board. If not, I can provide it to you. But if you'll look at their financial information, you'll see that it's trending in a positive direction. A couple other things that I think are worthy of noting. They did a board assessment from 2018. They identified strengths and areas for improvement. I think that's a good thing for any board to do. Finally, at our last meeting, and I'm a non-voting member, so I'm just sitting there and observing, but they did pass a resolution that primarily addresses closing the insurance coverage gap, maintain the integrity of certificate of need laws, and expanding Medicaid supplemental payments to health care providers. That resolution was unanimously approved. The next meeting of this board will be on June the 6th at 4:30. And at some point when a permanent individual is named for that board, I would certainly like the opportunity to sit down with that individual and just share my thoughts on how you get started as a member of that board. Ms. McGee, do you want to make some comments on high-speed internet based on our last meeting with Cloudwise?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Outlaw asked me to try to put in layman's terms what we discussed at our last high-speed internet meeting. That meeting we held with Cloudwise. It's our regular project update meeting, and that was May 14th, 2019. You do have a handout at your place, which has a couple of pictures on it. Construction on the towers is nearly complete. Cloudwise experienced some delay in their scheduling of construction crews, because in this particular industry right now, there are a lot of contractors who are working on the 5G deployment. But anyhow, that's been resolved, and construction of fiber to two of the towers and installation of the equipment on those towers has since been completed. They're working on the third tower, and they experienced some delay in obtaining access, but that now is worked out. And they have a notice to proceed for construction, and so that will occur within the next few weeks. Construction of the equipment that is on top of this building from the Network Operations Center, which will shoot out to the towers, is complete. And you have a drawing there that shows the equipment on our building. It says equipment on Government Center, and then some samples of what the equipment looks like at the towers. They're in the process of selecting participants in each of the two areas for the Phase 1 pilot program. And at our next internal high-speed internet committee meeting with Cloudwise, which is scheduled for June 27th, we should be receiving an evaluation from the first two towers of how that went. And assuming that goes well, which we think it will, we're working on details to continue to expand high-speed internet throughout Nash County, and it appears the General Assembly may have funding available for Tier 1 2019 counties. Of course, they're working through the budget now, so that's not certain, but we will certainly consider that grant funding as part of our schedule that we bring forth for consideration in moving forward. The county itself is not an eligible applicant, but the company that we're working with is. And so we'll meet again, and we expect very soon to be able to report on the success of the pilot phase.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Any questions? I would, in closing my report, I would say to you that President Carver has served Nash County and Nash Community College for over 30 years. And I would like the record to reflect that I would like to see this board recognize President Carver with some resolution of appreciation or whatever would be appropriate at the appropriate time. District 6, Commissioner Wells.
Turning Point has not met. They met last week when we were meeting with the school board. Excuse me. STEP has really, this summer has met with a bunch of the community leaders and businesses, and they're opening a reading program this summer to the schools, and it's very successful.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Any questions? District 7, Chairman Davis, and then after your report, it'll be back to you.
Okay. Tourism Development Authority, we had our annual budget meeting on May the 14th at the Southern Bank boardroom downtown. We have a board member that allowed us to use that boardroom. We generally meet in one of the hotels, but it was in the process of being sold at the time. We had a great year in revenue. Total revenue was a little over, actually, $1,011,000, which I think was a record for us. We determined it was primarily due, unfortunately, to one thing, which was hurricane, and we had a lot of people back here in the winter, as you recall, or earlier in the year, a lot of line trucks out there and so forth, because we had a major staging area there. Also, a lot of it came from the construction in the area, which is a positive thing. So we did have record revenue, and that continues to be trending up, but we did have one new hotel that came online during the year. In our budget meeting, we had 9 requests for funding. Some of them were repeat, some of them were new. Each one of them was analyzed. They gave a great presentation. We approved funding for 8 of the 9 in an amount. We have not notified those members quite yet. We'll be doing that later in the week or early next week, the ones that were successful, so I won't go through the list until we actually notify the individual ones. On the budget we approved for this coming year, something we don't generally do, but due to the 9 requests, and 8 of them been approved, and they were all very quality requests that fell well within the guidelines of what our TDA funding is for. We did expend from projected revenue that Ms. Wood did, and like she does the county's projected revenue, she always uses a fairly conservative figure. And so we did have a fund balance appropriation to meet our budget for next year of a little over $50 million, but we still have a substantial fund balance of about $1 million, a little bit more than that in the TDA funds. We like having that fund balance because one day we're going to get a request for a great thing to come to Nash County that will require a lot of that fund balance. I've been saying this for many years, and hope it'll come to fruition fairly soon, and I think it may will. As you know, we currently collect 5 cents. 2 cents of that actually goes to the city of Rocky Mount. 3 cents comes to the county. The TDA has to approve the funding for the city, and we have done that in the past. It actually has been designated for debt service at the sports complex and as well as the Imperial Center. In June of this year, actually next month, the funding for the sports complex, the debt service will be completed according to our records, and at that time, we would be looking for an additional request from the city, probably to use that fund for something else. We have not got that yet. There are some things on the table that the county would like to see them use that for, so we'll be working through that process, and I'll be keeping the board updated on what that potential use may be. If it's not identified right away, I'm thinking we would just put it in a hold fund until such time as something is approved after it's brought to us by the city of Rocky Mount. On the MPO, that meeting, we have not had one since the last meeting like we have here. We actually have it at 4:30 today. I did notify the city that I most likely was not going to get there, looking at the agenda that we had. The agenda for today was pretty light, so I think I can just get with Mr. Lee and catch up on what went on there. There was no public hearings or anything called for. The Middlesex Shell Building Committee, we still have. It's kind of inactive. The Shell Building is complete, and I don't know whether we should leave that committee, probably tentatively take it off the list until such time as the committee has to convene again, and hopefully that would be to approve some additional work to the building, possibly is what I would envision it for. And of course, we also have a approval process by which anybody that's going to put something in there, it would have to come through the architectural committee, which is also that particular group part of us are involved in. Gold Rock improvements, where we are there, we're not meeting anymore either. We, of course, had one hotel that has now been demolished. It is pretty much cleaned up. There is some material stored on site, but that site is available for redevelopment. And we have the hotel that the county owns through the tax foreclosure that we have had an asbestos report done on since our last meeting. It looked pretty good. The county has that in their hands. The manager and Vince and myself have met briefly one time, and we'll be meeting again. We're trying to determine if we are going to put it up for sale as is, or whether we're going to do the demolition ourselves and then put it up for sale. But I think in another 15 minutes or so we can make that decision, and then we will move forward which other way we go there. There is some interest in the building. I know of at least 3 people are interested in the property that wish to put a bid in on it. So I think we'll have a bidding process, a few upset bids hopefully. So look forward to that process beginning real soon. So I don't know when exactly we would be meeting again, as far as the Gold Rock Committee. The Joint School Board Committee, which was set up some time ago, and it was meeting on behalf of capital as well as current expense. We have not met since October of 18. I'm not sure when we would meet again or if we will meet again. It's kind of at the school board's pleasure whether we do or not. So that Joint School Board Committee, as appointed by the manager, is inactive at the present time. And that concludes my report, Commissioner Outlaw. If there's any questions on those reports, I'll be glad to try to answer them. Mr. Belfield?
Out at Gold Rock, the motel that the county owns,
Yes, sir.
is it worth rehabbing and operating or just demolition?
Absolutely is not worth rehabbing and operating. It has been sitting way too long, and it actually was in terrible shape when it was closed, quite frankly, so it will be demolished and repurposed.
Motel taxes, they increasing as the economy move along, or is it just pretty constant?
No, it's increased quite a bit. We do always see a surge in revenue during a catastrophe like hurricanes because people move inward. Unfortunately, that we gain revenue by that particular instance, but indeed we do. But as I pointed out, the other thing, there has been, according to the hotelers, a lot of construction workers stayed in hotels. There were quite a few when the gas main people were here. We expect those may well return in October. And then as the other projects in Edgecombe County start back up or get going, actually, we would anticipate more. So we anticipate another good year moving forward. We'll do. Any other questions on those reports? Just a couple of things about the reports, Mr. Outlaw. Just if you would note, at one time, the commissioners were receiving an invitation to the community college graduations. It may have had to stop simply because you don't have much space and it looks like you're completely full.
We have a meeting tonight, I'll mention that
Okay,
tonight.
I mean, I was going occasionally and would go. Won't say will not say I can always go, but I certainly enjoyed a few times I went. If you just check.
I'll make sure going forward that the board is aware of when these events take place.
If indeed there's space for us, so I know.
Space, there was enough space you could be
There's
there.
plenty
Okay,
of space.
all right. If you would let us know that, I think. The other thing I'd like to request the board, as we talked a little bit about the hospital appointment, we discussed it earlier when Ms. Barnes left, that Mr. Outlaw would take that on a temporary basis until we filled the seat. I had talked to Ms. Leggett about it a couple of times, and she informed me very recently that she was willing to take that seat. The process for taking that seat, you had to change your mind, have you? Okay. The process for taking that seat is we would make that recommendation to the hospital, which they are waiting on our recommendation, and then they would in turn pass it back to us, and we would approve that recommendation, if I understand it. The attorney, is that correct? That's correct. So what I'd like to get today is just a consensus that we would submit Ms. Leggett's name to the hospital board as soon as we could. Is there any opposition to that? We had discussed it previously, and I think everybody was okay with it.
With the understanding she'd be representing the southern end of the county, because I don't think they have anybody on there at this point now.
Well, they have a person on there, but he is inactive due to some military service, I think, Dan.
He's back home any day, so he should
He's back home
start
any day,
doing it.
okay. But actually, she
He's
is on.
back at Fort, at Camp, Fort Bragg now.
Okay.
So he'll probably be at next month's meeting.
Actually, Mr. Belfield, certainly Ms. Leggett is from the southern part of the county and would represent the southern part of the county, but she would be the commissioner's voice on the hospital and would actually look for her to represent the whole county.
Well, I understand that, but it's location, where
I understand,
the
yes.
board tried to.
That's right. So to answer your question, yes, she would represent the southern part of the county as it relates to the distribution of board members throughout the county. Seeing none, if the staff could let the hospital know that would be our recommendation or our input on a new board member for that seat.
It's probably, I'd also recommend that for the next meeting, that you contact Dorsey Tobias and have Dorsey have some discussion maybe with Ms. Leggett, maybe some just kind of overview of where they meet, and maybe she, like with me, she would meet you and take you back, because getting in there is kind of a maze. Once you go in there a couple of times, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think what we got to do is get her on their agenda and get them to send it back to us for approval, so we'll be seeing this again.
Well, somebody's got to attend the next meeting. I assume that would be Ms. Leggett. And for her to get into that meeting, you're gonna need a little bit of assistance.
The next meeting is,
June the 6th.
they're pretty, precise about their procedure, Commissioner Outlaw. I'm thinking that you may need to attend that one since you approved to do that, if you're available to.
Can I make a recommendation? I think it'd be good, maybe if Ms. Leggett might want to attend with me. And then, I don't think, because I don't vote.
Right.
I just sit,
Right.
and when they reach closed session time, I leave.
Right.
So I'm just there.
Yeah, why
But
don't
I
we-
just think it'd be good for you to kind of know where you're going and how to get there.
I understand. I could either check with the chairman, or if y'all could check with staff. Mr. Lamb, what you rather do?
I'll do it. I'll take care
Okay,
of it.
you'll take care of it, and then just let them two know what's going on. Good idea, Mr. Outlaw, certainly. I think you're trying to get it in there for us, you changes your mind.
No, I'm not.
kidding,
No,
kidding
I'm
with
not.
you,
But
sir.
what I don't want,
I'm
is for her to get there.
I got it.
And nobody's expecting to see her, and she's just kind of say, why
Yeah,
am
well,
I
I
here?
wouldn't have asked her to go to that meeting prior to her official thing, but it's no need not for her to, if they're okay with it.
I think they will be.
Yeah, should be. I've actually attended a few myself, over the years, just as a visitor, quite frankly.
It's an open meeting, but it's
It
very
is.
difficult to get to it
Yeah.
because of the location.
Absolutely. Did any member have anything else that they, wish to bring before the board? Manager?
I have nothing.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then to go into closed session, for attorney employed or retained by the public body to preserve the attorney-client privileges. We have a contract matter to discuss, and we have one brief personnel matter to discuss. So I'd entertain a motion to go in closed session at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett of Wells. Any questions on that motion? Prior to voting, I'm not sure what we got on the agenda. Do we expect any action to be taken for the benefit of the press today?
Do not believe so.
Do not believe so, okay. You're welcome to stay if you,
I guess it's possible. I don't even know the contract issue. I've still got some stuff to learn about it.
okay. Welcome to stay, or if you're not here when we come out, we'll certainly notify you if we did take any action. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Then move to closed session.